Hi, it's Amaka,
And Camellia.
and thank you so much for joining us. We have a great show today. Actually, we have a guest, a therapist, Erin and Keller, and we just thought that would be pretty good for us to have a conversation with a therapist, just because their ideas about therapists or misconceptions about therapists that people tend to have. And, with everything going on in the world, people need someone to talk to, but they're always hesitant about talking to them. And why not find somebody that can better explain who a therapist is and just kind of get a little bit more knowledge about what they do and how they are essential to one's life. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, well-being is tantamount. I mean, how can you show up for anything if you can't show up for yourself? So a therapist is hopefully we'll get more insight on how they work and how they help people be their best selves.
Yeah, and maybe she can give us some pointers on how to pretty much figure out our own lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Pair of nutcases here.
Yeah. Well, you're the nutcase, not me.
Come on, I'll let you judge. Okay.
See you soon.
Yeah, good evening, from the East Coast.
Are we? Yeah, you're at, well, what time is it over there?
It's 5:30 here.
Oh, you are officially evening.
Yes.
Yeah, it's evening over.
Hey girl, how you doing?
I'm all right. How are you all?
Good. So this is my partner in crime, Camellia, part of the
We
show.
saved the best for last.
Yes.
Your final interview.
Oh, wonderful. I'm glad to be a part of it.
Yes. So thank you for being a part of it. And I was telling her, yep, Erin can do this, because everything that she talks about, I'm like, Erin is already doing that with three of them. But I think she did make a point that, you know what, the best way to start this conversation, a question to you is, can women do it all? Your mother.
No. No. What? No. No.
Yeah, straight to the point. All right. Why?
We're not designed to do it all. Like, we're not built to do everything all at once. Like, we're not even designed to be, in this capitalist system, which I can go on the soapbox for hours about that. But yeah, we're not designed to do it all. So why would we?
I think there is this like collective dream to have it all as a woman.
Yeah.
And I think it's built to drive us insane.
It is. The patriarchy, am I right? It's designed to put it all on us, all our responsibilities. But yeah, no, we are conditioned, like you said, Camilla, to want it all and to have it all. But we're not designed to be able to, hold it all and do it all. Like, that's where mental health challenges and struggle come in. It keeps me in business, but I don't like that. So.
But people will probably, I'm not going to generalize. I always thought I'm not going to generalize, but you will have women that would say, why? Those back in the day, yeah, that was, something that would be, your answer would be acceptable. But now things have changed. This is 2025. So women can have it all, or women can do it all. What would you say to that when you have that kind of pushback?
I would ask them, like, how do you do it all? And then I'm sure they will list how they either, have a partner, or they have a village, or they have a daycare. Like, you're not doing it all. Like, you have people and supports in your life. So you're not doing it all. So that's how I normally would probably have the conversation. But I probably would ask them first, like, what do you mean by having it all and doing it all? Like, what does that look like to you?
And typically, what kind of answers would you get? That is,
Mm-hmm.
it's different for everyone. Or is it typically the same answer?
I really haven't had this conversation with people, so I don't know what their answers would
So
be.
good, yeah. That's here.
But I do work with working moms who want to be on all the time and do all those things. But then they're coming to me because they're noticing that they're more irritable, they're not sleeping well, their whole diet and stuff has changed. And so we kind of have that conversation of like how adjustments and things like that you can make in your life, or what coping strategies can you now use because of this. But yeah, I don't have anybody in my life or span that talks about having it all. Like, nobody wants it all.
Mm.
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
yeah.
Just for a little context, can you tell me a little bit about your practice since I'm just kind of getting to know you? I want to know like what's your what kind of do you have a specialty or a therapy in general? Like is there areas that you specifically cater towards?
Yeah. So, my practice is called Melanated Wellness LLC. I opened my doors back during the height of the pandemic. There's a story behind that that I can definitely share later. But I primarily work with Black and other folks of the global majority. I'm a trauma therapist, so I kind of work. I like how I describe it. Like I'm a trauma therapist. That's like the umbrella term. But then I work at the four categories underneath the trauma. So racial trauma, sexual abuse or assault, or being a survivor of sexual abuse and assault, neurodivergent trauma, and then LGBTQIA plus trauma. So usually, if not all, like all the people I work with, I do also work with, European Americans as well. But everybody's one of those four that are coming into my space, whether they're Black, they're queer, they're neurodivergent, or they have history of being a survivor of sexual assault.
Mm.
Wow, that is just such a wide
Intense.
range of specialty too. Like, I mean, you have
Yeah.
people dealing with very specific issues.
Mhm.
Um, does it go into like a foundational work of like rewiring their experience, or I don't know, is it like an aha moment, or is it like a slow progression of tools that help people work their way through?
I do a case by case. I really just show up with what the client needs in the moment. And so there are some moments where we're like aha moment, but since I do work with trauma, but not everybody is coming to me because they're experiencing trauma either. So I do want to say that as well. But for those that are, I do a lot of body work, and so that is kind of rewiring the brain to from their traumatic memories to like a now core, like a now altered or healed memory so they can restore it. Like I can go into the brain about how, trauma impacts your brain and things like that. So I try to rewire that. Sometimes it's through talk therapy, sometimes it's doing body work and having them go internal because I'm a believer that, you usually feel how you feel before you can attach verbal language to it. So I try to go there first, especially with my neurodivergent folks. Um, Top to down processing, which is like talk therapy, where you're just doing a bunch of talking, usually doesn't help. So that's why I like to work in their body and then attach the language to how they're feeling, if that makes sense.
If I could just follow up,
Yeah.
what is body work? I'm not familiar.
Yeah, so it's called somatic therapy. You'll hear it, or soma. Soma just means body. So you'll hear people say somatic work. It just means like going internally. So like I have folks just kind of identify when they're having distress or certain sensations or feelings, just going into their bodies and kind of checking in and noticing what's going on there. And if they can apply then language to it, then we do. But we don't necessarily have to, depending on the client.
Wow, that's
Do you
interesting.
get like when you meet, so do you get some clients that are they push back in terms of opening up to you? How quickly do they open up, or do
Mm.
you have those that don't even, you already can tell they're not going to open up, and you just have to back away and say, you know what, it's difficult, I can't work with you, kind of situation.
So yes, just like when I was a baby clinician, yes, I did struggle with clients that were, they would call them resistant, but I'm like, it's society, right? Now that I'm more of a seasoned clinician, I can kind of tell like when people aren't going to open up to me, but I give them time. It took one of my like. I call them kiddos, even though they're teenagers. It took one of my kiddos like a year and a half to like tell me anything. Like anything. All we did was talk about like surface level stuff. And so every so often I would kind of like try to push a little bit. But then they would be like, nah, I'm not doing that. I'm like, okay. So then I would back off. Now I do a lot of asking. I always ask consent of the people I work with. I'm like, okay, fine, you don't want to talk about it right now, but do I have your permission to circle back around this in a week or 2 weeks or a month? And they usually say yes. And then I'll do it. And then they'll either acknowledge or they'll be like, I don't want to talk about it again. They're like, okay, cool. But eventually we'll have a conversation with them about it. But I definitely go slow and steady. I'm very much client led. So wherever my client, the direction they want to go and work on, I typically follow suit. It's not my place to tell you what to do or how to do it or when to do it.
That takes a lot of finesse because when you're talking
Oh
about
yeah,
trauma,
absolutely.
And patience,
people,
because my
yeah,
goodness,
yeah.
patience. Yeah,
You have to
just
have a confidence that like they are going to open up to me
Oh
someday
yeah.
and
One
show.
day, yeah, one day, like it took one of my young adults, it took them almost 2 years to tell me that they were suicidal,
Oh,
and was self-harming. I didn't know that, for the first 2 years we were working together. And I don't know what it was that eventually led them to tell me, but like I was like, all right, thank you for sharing that with me. I know that had to be a big deal. Finally, kind of let me in to that vulnerable space. Let's
yeah.
work on it. And so we did like a safety plan and all that. But yeah, I wouldn't have known. I would have been none the wiser that they were self-harming. Especially since I'm virtual. I only really get to see the
Uh,
folks I work with like here up. And so sometimes I will have them like point their cameras down to like look at their body and notice like their breath. But I'm very good at picking up like body language and cues, even though we are virtual. But there's only so much I can see, especially if someone's wearing like you all are wearing like long sleeves. I wouldn't know if
mhm.
you were self-harming or doing anything in that way unless like you told me. Even if I asked you, because you can lie. And a lot of folks I work with end up lying. I catch them in them. I don't necessarily call them out in the moment, but I do notice when I have the folks I work with lie to me. But yeah, I wouldn't know unless you shared that information with me.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Let's Talk, the Afro Style podcast with Amaka and Camelia. If you're enjoying the conversation, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on Spotify and YouTube. For more content updates, insights, and information, or if you would like to share your thoughts, ideas, or collaborate with us, email us at info@afrostylemag.com. We are always looking for inspiring guests, fresh perspectives, and exciting partnerships. Reach out and let's connect. We'd love to hear from you. Now back to the show.
You must listen really deeply. Is there any danger in being as empathic as you are, like of taking that to absorbing that
yeah,
energy? Like, how do
that's a
you
good question.
protect yourself from that?
Yeah,
Because you,
when I first started, you can ask my husband. You can ask if I would come home from my internship. Like when I was in school, grad school, and I was at my internship, I worked at a inpatient, outpatient um, rehab center for people, for women who were, living in recovery from drugs and alcohol. And I would come home like crying on days where they were really hard, or I would get really like harsh, critical feedback from a supervisor. I would come home and like be in tears. But I've learned with, just with years and experience and with some great supervisors, learning how to keep that at home. At work. I don't take it home anymore. But yes, it can be dangerous being empathetic because I feel everything and everyone at once. Even in my personal life, it's difficult. So I've learned how to put personal boundaries for myself. But when it comes to work, I can leave that at home. I can leave that at work now. And then most of my friends here in the DMV area are therapists, which is fantastic because we have a little group chat.
yeah,
So we'll like go in there, we'll land in there. Yeah, and then I also host a weekly peer consultation group with some of those friends as well. And so every Monday night, if we're all available, we'll come together and we'll do peer consultation. We'll do case consultation. We'll just talk about what it's like to be a therapist, especially right now. And we all work with different populations. And so and we all have different experiences. So it's really cool to like kind of bounce off each other. And then to land, like literally the other day, I had an interesting session and I immediately texted them and it was like 20, 30 messages. I was actually in another session when I got back to it and they had all this different advice, like from their different experiences. So I did it, took all of their collective advice and was like,
oh,
okay, I'm just going to sit this one out. Thanks for y'all's advice. But it's really great to have that village, right?
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I was saying, having that village of other therapists that get what I do. And they're all from different races and backgrounds as well. So it's really nice to have that cultural aspect as well.
I'm so curious about your experience. So one of the things that stood out to me was when you're like, especially right now. So what did you mean when you said that? Is there a trend in you're seeing in the needs of your patients like right now as far as like mental health? Like what are you seeing?
Mhm. Same kind of similar to the pandemic. Just with the current, folks who like to say they're in power. I'm gonna be very gentle with my words. There's a lot of stressors now. Since we are in the DMV area, a lot of the folks I work with work for the government.
Mhm.
And so they're losing jobs, their families are losing jobs, their friends are losing their jobs. And since because I work a lot of queer folks, a lot of them are very much afraid.
Cool.
So they're hoarding their medications. Their doctors are prescribing them 3 to 6 month prescriptions just in case. But Maryland's really good, which I appreciate. We constitutionalize gender affirming care for trans and non binary people. So those folks who live in Maryland are safe, but the people who live in DC quite aren't. But just the increase rise in, racist statements, people getting deported, everything that's kind of just going on the internet at once and in the world. A lot of folks are coming more into therapy because they need a space and a place to land of what's like trying to process like this can't be real life, and it's like it actually is. But like I said, we're not designed to live this life, so our reactions are just responses to the trauma that we're experiencing day to day.
It almost feels like, I don't know if I'm the only one feeling this, like it's almost better to kind of hide from the wreckage than to let yourself stick out for any reason whatsoever. It's like there's so many things that I feel strongly is not okay,
Yeah,
but it's almost
absolutely.
like you don't want to be somebody who stands out in any way. Like you want to fight the good fight, but right now it's just like there's so many people suffering.
It's yeah.
And it's dangerous to kind of be yourself. And so, I don't have a light on me yet, but I know eventually if they keep going down the direction they are, I will have a light on me. One, because of the name of my practice. It's called
Mhm.
Melanated Wellness. I work primarily with folks that look like us. That's
Yeah.
also a problem. I'm also a woman, so also another problem. And so,
Almost like
then I
it's
work with folks
bingo.
who are, then I also work with folks who are,
Dark bingo.
I'm sorry.
Would you say, what would you say is I don't want to use the word myth, but what is it that people have come to realize after speaking with you that they didn't think about? Like they didn't realize, like, you know what, you know how people have this idea of going to a therapist, especially in our community, where it's like going to a therapist is thought of as not normal. So what do people tend to come away with when they speak after they speak with you, or after they feel like they feel better after speaking with you?
That they're not alone.
Okay.
A lot of folks really think that they're the only person going through what they're going through. I'm like, you're not alone. There's millions of people going through the same thing that you are, and I just kind of hold the space to just let them be. So if they want to come in and talk about anime for 30 minutes, okay. We can talk about. We'll talk. I love anime, so we'll talk about it. I literally like one of my last sessions. We spent like almost the whole session talking about the Marvel universe. And that's what they needed in the session. They didn't need me to like go deep and like
Yeah.
bring strong feelings. Like they just wanted to talk about the Captain America movie and how they didn't like it. So I was like, okay. So I gave them that space to just kind of be, because when they do go out in the world and try to talk to friends and family, usually, even though we, mean it in good faith, we typically give our opinion on what they're doing, how they're doing it, when they're doing it. So I don't do that in my space. So they get to come and just, I'm a blank slate, but I'm not like a blank slate where like I'm just in there. Like I make faces, I laugh, I cry in sessions. But I'm very objective. Like I'm just like, because a lot of the times they're like, oh, what should I do? And I'm like, I don't know. I can't tell you what to do. Like we could talk about your options, but it's not my place to tell you
Tell you what to do.
what to do. Like you have to make that decision. Like one of my clients asked if they should date this person, and I was like, I don't know, should you? And so they're like, I don't know, you tell me. And I'm like, I'm not dating this person or interested in this person, but let's talk about the ways they make you feel and some of the behaviors that they were doing. They were like, after we had the conversation, they're like, yeah, maybe I should take a pause. I was like, okay, if that feels best for you, I think maybe taking a pause might be. So I'll affirm, and then sometimes I will challenge them depending on what it is, especially if around their safety. That's where I will, interject myself, is around their safety.
It sounds like a lot of what you do has to be so intuitive in your personal skill set, which I don't know how that can be trained. It's like it's just literally something that you either have or you don't. How do you help guide somebody towards some of the deeper connection if they're staying surface all the time? Like how do you eventually kind of guide them that way if they want to talk about Marvel every day,
Well, one, I
every
know she
meeting
has
for
to
a
be
year and a half?
patient because I don't have that
For
kind
sure,
of
patient.
patience.
But there's
She
got
has
to
to
be
be patient
like some
for
kind of ninja thing that you were doing to
Yeah.
get, well, let's reflect on this. Or I don't know, how do you do that?
It depends on what it is. And so sometimes I'll try to bring something from our previous session or something that I already know about them, like to our prior sessions. Like my first session is not your typical intake. I don't know if you either one of you have ever been in therapy. But usually your intake session, the first one is just a bunch of questions about like your background and all that, right? I do that, but it's not very clinical. I kind of really get to know the person, and so based off the things they say, I listen for like negative connotations or like thoughts about themselves. I listen for like harmful language. I hear for like their family dynamics and how the people in their lives like show up for them, and then eventually I will like sprinkle that in, depending on the person or what they're coming in for. Like if I have 5 sessions and we haven't really started talking about your anxiety, then I'm like, okay, did something come up for you this week that caused you anxiety? And then usually they'll be like, and then we'll go from there.
Gentle pressure, like a steady.
Yeah, gentle but soft pushing. They're like my baby birds. Like, I'm gonna push you out. I'm gonna keep you in the nest, but then eventually you're gonna learn how to fly. So
Everybody could use some of that in their life, though, right?
absolutely. But yeah,
and gives them like it's just like sometimes people are so isolated, and like
I think fear of judgment is what it is too, in terms of why they don't open up, which kind of brings me to this question. When it comes to the Black community, people of color community, the hesitation to seek therapy, do you see a trend that, no, I don't want to use the word trend, but do you see people opening up more to it, or is there still a pushback in getting that?
there's still a pushback, but because there are more and more therapists of color that are like going to school, getting trained, becoming supervisors like myself, more and more people, especially with the internet, like I know I have a lot of thoughts about TikTok, but TikTok has done a really good service of like normalizing therapy.
Okay.
And so more people are coming into it. I'm seeing more of a bigger age range, especially with my more seasoned adults that are coming in who are like in their 60s and stuff. They're like, I grew up saying like, you got to pray or, suck it up. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
how did that work out for you?
exactly.
And so
and here we are.
It's true. And I remember we talked about that too, when we talked about the mental, and I was saying that most of the time in our community, when you say that you want to go to therapy or you need a therapist, they look at you as in you're a softie, like what the hell, figure it out. Don't that
figure it out on your own, pray. I'm like, you can pray, you can love Jesus and have a therapist. We don't contradict each other. And then there's also faith-based therapists. I am not one, but there are faith-based therapists of all faiths and backgrounds. So you can always find a faith-based therapist for yourself. But yeah, I am noticing there is a reduction, but there is still the stigma because even I work with I donate my time to this nonprofit called Black Men Heal. They're a nonprofit. They're based in Philadelphia, but I think they're in like 8 states. They eventually want to get to all 50, but they're mainly based here on the East Coast. And so they offer 8 free consecutive sessions to Black men to help reduce the stigma around therapy. And so usually the men that I work with are first timers. I love first timers in therapy. They can change their whole like narrative about what they think therapy is, because I do therapy quite different from a lot of people, but even them coming in, they're like, I don't want to talk to you, and I'm like, well, tell me more about that. Like, you have to be really curious, and so I have a curiosity about getting to know the people that I work with, and then so many people don't like talking about themselves, so they also have to get used to that. But I think once they realize, like, oh, this is actually all about me, I can just talk about me this whole time. It's like, yeah, come on, like, let's have a conversation. And so I believe also being a Black therapist, I like to show up and show like, hey, people, we exist, like we're here. And so, you can be yourself. You don't have to like code switch or like wear like a suit, or, I had a client that wore like a suit and jacket for the first like 2 sessions. And like the 3rd session, I'm like, it's 2 o'clock. Like, why are you like wearing that? And so they're like, well, I have to dress up for you. And I was like, no, you don't. I'm like, I'm in a hoodie. Like, I'm in a hoodie. I was like, please don't do that. And so then the next session, they were like in a hoodie and a do-rag. And I was like, you feel more comfortable, I'm assuming, right? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, so then they were able to open up more because I allowed them to like have that space. But yeah, I definitely show up as myself as a human because I want them to show up as humans. So that's why I say I make faces. I try not to, but I make faces. I laugh. Me and my clients, we cry together in sessions depending on what we're talking about. I just hold space for whatever they look like. I like to curate the space designed to them, if that makes sense.
Are you wholly virtual? Like all of your appointments are virtual? So that
Yeah.
means you can cover a lot of ground in a day. You can do quite a few meetings in a day, but it must be a whirlwind of like emotional roller coaster all day. Like, is that how it goes?
Oh, yes. Yes, my day to day is very dynamic. It's never the same, even from week to week. Because I don't necessarily see all the people I work with in therapy weekly. Like I have monthly clients, I have tri-weekly clients, and I have bi-weekly clients. So it definitely varies from week to week, and especially what's going on in the world. For example, I definitely had to cancel clients the day 45-1. Like I couldn't. Like I woke up to the news and I was like, nope.
Yeah.
I have to cancel sessions.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I canceled sessions. I think I canceled sessions earlier that week just in case. Yeah, because it was a Wednesday. So yeah, Monday I told my Wednesday, like I moved my Wednesday, like my weekly Wednesday clients. I moved them because I'm like, I don't know what the results are gonna be. I don't know what space I'm gonna be in. I'm sorry.
You're
Prioritizing
prioritizing
yourself.
your
Mhm.
health.
Oh yeah. And so then I was like, yep, nope. I was like, 21, I was like, nope, I am going to take the whole day off. And I spent the whole day crying because then Thursday I think I saw I typically try to not go more than 7 or 8 clients, but because I spread them out, I think I saw 7 or 8 clients the following Thursday. And like out of 5 of them, we were just crying about the results.
Yeah.
They just popped up on the screen. They were already crying. And so we were
Yeah.
crying together. So I'm like, we were like, how did this happen?
Yeah.
And so I'm very much, like I said, I'm very much human. So like, yeah, I spent like 5 hours crying. That was heavy. But then, my family's very supportive. And so when I have those type of days, I will go, I will change my clothes. One, I always change my clothes after my last client of the day. I'll either take a shower or change my clothes, depending on how I'm feeling, to just kind of go from work errand to like home errand. And also my family, I'm like, look, go into my bedroom, I need like an hour. Don't talk to me. And they've been really good with that, especially during the pandemic when I started working from home, because I wasn't working from home before the pandemic.
Yeah.
So my family's really aware of that. I'm like, I need a moment.
Mm-hmm.
I need a
And
moment.
really brings this other question in terms of you're a therapist, you're a business owner, you're a mom,
Yeah.
how do you balance everything? Because I know that it's not easy. You already answered our question in the beginning. We can't do everything, but how do you balance everything?
Yeah.
You have 2 beautiful kids, a wonderful husband, a thriving business, but at the same time, you're taking in people's emotions as you're talking to them.
Oh, the 2 kids too.
Yeah,
That's a
plus the
lot
2 kids.
of emotional
Yeah,
needs
that's
right
a
there.
lot. So
Oh, yeah, especially that my
like,
youngest.
and then
do
talk to
you?
them. So how do you balance everything? And what would you tell women who are either married or not married, kind of in the similar boat, both of us? How can we balance it?
Just finding out what your needs are and going from there. So one thing, I'm in therapy. So I have a therapist. And so I dump a lot. She's awesome. So I dump a lot on her. But she's really good about, even though she's a therapist, and I'm a therapist, she's really good about calling me out when I go into therapist mode, because I naturally do that. And so she's like, nope, you're in therapist mode. I need you back in Erin mode. And I'm like, it's so frustrating. But having a therapist, and then also having advanced conversations with my husband, because he also works from home too. We've been very blessed to both of us were to work from home. So every morning, he gets up hours before me. But when I get up for the day, we go over our schedule. We go over who can do drop-offs and pickups of the kids, depending on the day. And then I always have lunch with him. Like we normally eat lunch together if I don't have a session. And then also turning it off. Like, so I have business hours. I don't start work before 9 a.m. Like I don't open my phone. I don't open my email before 9 a.m. So even if I'm up at like 6:30, 7 a.m., I'm playing video games or watching TV or hanging out with my kids. And then when I'm done with my last client, I did my last note, I shut that off. Like I don't answer emails. I don't do any of that. And my clients know, like after a certain time, I'm not going to answer my phone, and I don't work on the weekends.
Okay.
So I don't see clients on the weekends. So, and then I was, I mean, I'm not anymore, but I was taking every other Friday off.
Yeah.
As well. So I worked it with my biweekly clients where I saw them every other Friday. So then I would have one Friday of no clients. So that way I could reset, follow up on calls and emails if I have to. But I had to learn how to do that, because at the beginning of the pandemic, I was working for an agency and they were always throwing stuff at us. And then my good friend Cassandra, who I met at this job, she's the one that taught me how to have those boundaries. So I appreciate you, Cassandra. Just watching her and talking to her, like I said, building that village. And then, talking to more experienced clinicians of like, how do you all do this? But yeah, it's definitely because I don't know what I would be doing if I didn't have a good partner or like a non.
What would you be doing if you were not a therapist?
What would I be doing if I wasn't a therapist?
Yeah, like if you had decided not to go down this route, what would you have? Do you think you would have been?
Like I really don't. I honestly don't know what I could. I talked to my husband about that. I was like, I don't know what I would be doing. Maybe bartending. But like, I have no idea.
It's still therapy.
It's still service.
Get drunk and talk about their problems.
Right. So I honestly don't know because I initially went to school to be a doctor. And I didn't go to medical school because of all the reasons. But yeah, I think regardless, I would be in some type of helping profession. If I couldn't, but this suits me so well, I can't see myself doing anything else. Maybe a consultant. Like eventually I want to not do one-on-one therapy anymore. I rather do speaking engagements and like group things. Because one-on-one therapy is a lot, especially with the populations I work with. So I know I won't be doing this for like 20, 40 years. I won't be able to make it. I just can't. So eventually I do want to transition into something else, but it's definitely a trial and error of what works and what doesn't work as well.
Yeah, awesome. Good for you. It's really cool to like listen, because when you think of a therapist, I'm one of those, I think you think of someone sitting down in the corner, tell me your problems, and then we decide that, okay, well, that's not going to help. And that's why I guess people have this idea of what a therapist is, and they're not helpful. But the way you've broken it down, it does give us a better idea as to what to expect. Everyone is not the same, but kind of gives us a general idea of what to expect and why it's important. And the fact that you remind us, I am human as well, so, what you're going through, I understand because I go through it in my own way. So I really do appreciate that. Outside of that, thank you so much for joining us. I really, really do appreciate your time here with us. Maybe I'll come for a therapy session one day.
I like back my mind's like, so is she free?
Kamal is pushing me to get licensed in California.
Yeah,
which I am. That's actually on my agenda this week because I actually have a lighter load this week. Amen. Because this week is crazy. So I'm going to sign up because for California, even though I was born and raised there, I have to take an ethics class about California culture. I'm like, I grew up there. Like I literally emailed the board. I was like, hey, I grew up here. Like I'm native. Like, do I have to take this class? Like I understand the culture of California and my family there. Like I understand the culture. Like, no, you still have to take these classes. So I have to take a 18 credit ethics course. So I have to find time for that. So that'll probably be like nighttime stuff. And then I have to pass their tests and then I can get licensed in California. So
all right. Well, we'll be waiting for you then. Thank you so much for joining us, Erin. It was such a pleasure to speak with you. Love to the family, and I'll connect you. We'll connect with you soon.
Yes, before I let you go, this is how I always end my session. So I'm definitely going to ask you to as well. I'm going to start with you. Camilla, tell me one thing you're going to do to take care of yourself today.
I'm going to treasure my time with my daughter today.
Amen. That's good.
Awesome. And Amaka?
Going to hit the gym later today and then get home and sleep. I need some sleep because I didn't sleep long enough.
Great question though. Great question.
Yeah, that's how I always end my sessions. And so usually my first time when I end my first session with that, they're like, I never thought about that. Like, what do I do? And they're like, what do I say? I was like, I don't know. What are you gonna do? Like one of my kiddos, she always says hydrate. I've been working with her for 4 years now. She has never changed her answer. It's literally, I'm going to hydrate.
Water. Yeah, everyone. That's a great
Not
answer.
alcohol,
great answer.
water.
Water. Yeah, she's in college now. I started working with her when she was in 8th grade and she's in college now. And so, which is crazy, but every answer, it's always hydrate. And I'm like, yeah.
Awesome.
As we should, but I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you much for having me. I would love to do this again. This was amazing.
Definitely. We'll come up with more ideas.
Absolutely. Yeah, I am down for it. I love that. I love spreading the word.
So we'll reach out to you and check the video out soon. Okay. And then, all right, my love, you enjoy the rest of your day and love to the fam.
I will. I'll let them know. Bye.
Bye.
Final thoughts.
I think her clients are very lucky to have her.
Yeah.
Not just because she's super cool, which reinforces like it's not just therapy, it's the therapist for you.
Yeah.
But the fact that she goes back to her crew and is like, hey, I don't know what to do with this. You're not getting one therapist.
You're
getting the whole
family. So it makes sense when she says, no, we can't do it all. Because for her, she's like, I don't have the answer for everything. So I'm going to talk to my crew that will be able to help me with some answers, and I pick from there. But I think the idea that she actually makes it look so cool, because I won't lie, I before used to think therapists are just people sitting on the side and what do you need help with? And they ask you questions upon questions upon questions, and then you leave without much, or maybe they help or whatever. But there's this idea of what I thought a therapist would look like. And she's saying, no, I'm your friend. I'm your girl, but I'm a different kind of friend where it's like, I'm here to help you, and I'm here to be your,
because deep down we want that.
Yeah, we do
somebody
want
to
that.
see us. We want somebody to help us work through our blocks, And it got me thinking, like, her job is to be so intimate with a person. Like, how many jobs are there where you treat people like they're a number, or an amount of money coming in, or a statistic? Like, there's so many jobs out there that don't treat people like people. Like, hers is just so in your face. Like, there's got to be a lifespan to how long you can be a therapist, because to be that intimately connected with your clients is priceless.
And again, I would say it, she has patience, because I don't have my patience can only go so long. So for me to be with the same person for a while, and as much as I empathize, at some point it's just like, dude, probably I'm not the right person for you. Go on to somebody else. But she has the patience to deal with the different clients, with the different attitudes, with the, and stuff like that. And so, and then again, I come back to, she's also human. So she also is on the other side, where she is also getting therapy. So she's also seeing things from their point of view, though it's really something that she's going through. And so that I feel she would take that back to when she's dealing with her clients and be able to forge ahead in helping them. So got to give you credit, Erin.
What a whole dynamic with her husband, kids. It's really a concerted effort. Yeah. And I guess that's what happens when you actually pay attention to your balance.
Yes.
And what mode you're in.
And this is somebody else, another person that just is passionate about what she does.
That sure helps.
That sure helps. Because when we asked her what would she do if she wasn't doing this, she didn't really have an answer. So the fact is, this is something she's passionate about. So she's going to make sure she does what she's supposed to do to help that patient. So kudos to you, Erin. And you guys, be sure to check out her website, Melanated Wellness. She's a great therapist, and answers that you have, if you're trying to get into it, feel free to reach out to her, and she'll be able to assist you. Or if you want to have a session with her, be sure to reach out to her as well. Her name is Erin Nkele, Nkele, and my name is Amaka again, and this is
Camelia.
And thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Let's Talk. We look forward to seeing you again soon.
What are you going to do to take care of yourself today?
Oh, Lord.
Are you going to hydrate? I hope so.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Let's Talk, the Afro Style podcast with Amaka and Camelia. We hope you enjoyed it. If you missed any of our episodes, you can catch up on YouTube and Spotify. And be sure to subscribe, comment, and email us at info@afrostylemag.com. We'd love to hear from you.